Before I tell you about Oburewa, I need to tell you about something else, something that has no name. Not because nobody gave it one, but because every person who knew its name is no longer here to say it. It has existed longer than memory, longer than the first village, even longer than the first fire. And in all that time, it has learned one thing about human beings. We all want something. Desperately, completely, without thinking about the cost. This is the story of a girl who wanted one thing and got everything at a price she never agreed to pay. Before we continue, please tell me where you are watching from in the comment section. In an ancient Nigerian town, long before memory, long before time had existed, the first person was a man. We do not know his name. We do not even know the village he came from, because the village he came from no longer exists. Even the ground it stood on has forgotten it. What we do know is this: he was suffering. His family was very hungry. His farm had failed for the third time in a year. His children's ribs were beginning to show. And one evening, he sat at the crossroad outside his village, the place where two paths meet, the place where physical worlds and the spiritual worlds share the same ground. And he did what desperate men do. He spoke his pain out loud to nobody, just to the air, to whoever was listening.
I just want my family to eat. I just want one season where something goes right. I just want to be happy.
And then he went home. That night, he slept hungry. But the next morning, a trader came to his door, offering to buy his land at 10 times its worth. Another man arrived with grains, then livestock, then opportunity after opportunity, arriving like they had been waiting in a queue. He thought he was God, and so he went back to the crossroad to say thank you to the one who answered him. And that is when he saw it, a small dark object sitting at the center of where the two paths crossed. It had not been there before, or perhaps it had, and he had simply never been desperate enough to see it. He picked it up. It felt warm, not from the sun, from something else. He made another wish, spoke it out loud the way he had done before. This time he watched, and on the surface of the object, words appeared, carved into it by nothing. They were carved by themselves. 2 words: wish granted. And beneath those words were numbers, counting down. He could not read them. Numbers had not yet taken the form he would have recognized. So he smiled. He put the object in his pocket and went home to his family. He lived well, extremely well, for exactly as long as he had left. He never knew what the numbers meant. Neither did the next person, or the one after, or the one after that, until Oburewa. The second person we know of was a mother. Her name does not matter in this story. What matters is a child, a boy of 4 years, sick since birth, with something the doctor could not name. They could not treat, they could only watch. She had tried everything: hospitals, prayers, rituals, herbs, fasting, everything a desperate mother tries when medicine runs out of answer. Then the object found her. Not at a crossroad this time. It had changed by then. It looked like a smooth crystal stone, the kind you find at the riverbank. Beautiful, shiny, the kind of thing a desperate woman picks up without thinking. Because it felt beautiful and warm, and warmth was something she had not felt in a long time. She did not wish deliberately, she just spoke, the way exhausted mothers speak in the dark.
Please, just let my son be well. Just let him live.
And the next morning, just like she wished, the boy woke up, healthy and hungry. Not sick hungry, well hungry, healthy hungry, the kind of hunger that comes from a body that has decided to live. She held him and wept for an hour, not because she was sad, but because she was happy. Then she held the stone and she wished again and again and again for his future, for their safety, for everything she had been too afraid to want while he was sick. 4 wishes. 4 times the object warmed. 4 times the words appeared. Wish granted. She saw the words. She smiled at them. She did not see the numbers. She was too busy watching her son eat. 3 months later, she woke up one morning and could not move her legs. By afternoon, she was no longer in control of her hands. And by evening, she lost total control of her body. And by night, everything happened. She did what she was not willing to do. And the sad part, her own son had to witness it. The boy she had healed, the boy whose future she had wished for, was standing in the doorway of her room, looking at his mother, cutting her own self, leading her own self to the grave. And the stone was gone from the house. Nobody saw it leave. It was already somewhere else, already warm, already waiting for the next desperate person who just wanted one thing and did not think about the cost. And then came Oburewa. A name was given to her the moment they saw her face. She was so ugly that her own parents decided to name her Oburewa. Oburewa in her language means she who has no beauty whatsoever. She who is not beautiful in any way. Nothing beautiful about her. Nothing beautiful about her face, nothing beautiful about her skin, nothing beautiful about her form, nothing beautiful about her at all. At least, not anything the eyes could find. Her parents named her this after birth, not in cruelty, in resignation, like parents who had given up on their child before she had even learned to walk. She grew up in a small Nigerian village surrounded by beauties. Her mother was beautiful. Her father was very handsome. Her sisters, they were the kind of girls that made the whole village turn and look.
Oh, daughters of the village, walk in pride. We celebrate you this day.
And then there was Oburewa, standing among them like a wrong note in a perfect song. People did not just ignore her. They reacted to her like her presence was an offense they had not agreed to.
You're a bad luck. You should have died long ago.
Children moved away from her in school. Adults averted their eyes when she speaks or passed. Boys, not one, not ever, not even a glance that was not followed immediately by looking away. She could not look at herself in the mirror. She had tried once when she was 7. And what looked back at her was so different from every face she saw celebrated around her that she pulled her own fist through the glass. She never looked again. Her family was the worst of it. Not because they beat her, not even because they starved her, but because they were ashamed, publicly, quietly, consistently, every single day. At family gatherings, Oburewa was seated at the back. In photographs, she was moved to the edge, sometimes even out of the frame completely. Her mother once told a neighbor,
We do not know where she came from. She does not look like us at all.
She said it within Oburewa's hearing, without lowering her voice, without turning to check if her child was listening. Because in that house, Oburewa's feelings were not something anyone tracked. Her sister, Adeshewa, was the most beautiful girl in the village, and she knew it. The way certain people know things, not with gratitude, but with entitlement. To Adeshewa, Oburewa was not a sister. She was an embarrassment, a thing that existed in the same space as her beauty, and made it look less by comparison. Which made no sense, because contrast usually makes beauty shine brighter. But Adeshewa did not think that way. She thought, if people see her beside me, they will pity me for having such a sister. And Adeshewa could not bear being pitied.
You're an embarrassment to me and our entire lineage.
The first time she tried to drown Oburewa at the river, Oburewa was 11. Adeshewa told her parents Oburewa had fallen, and they believed her, without question, without investigation. The second time, Oburewa was 14. She held onto a root at the riverbank until Adeshewa got tired and left. She laid on the riverbank alone, wet, coughing, and she made a decision not to die, not to fight, just to survive quietly until something changed. She did not know that something was already waiting for her at the crossroads. This thing had been waiting for someone exactly like her for a very long time. She was 17 the day she found it, walking back from the market alone as always. Nobody waiting for her at home with anyone. She took the long road, the one that passed through the crossroad, not because she had to, but because on the long road, nobody passed her and looked away. She was almost at the center of the crossroad when she saw it on the ground, where two paths meet, a small dark object, the size of her fist, smooth and dark, with patterns running across its surface. Not like decorations, like writing. She almost walked past it. She almost left it. Her mother's voice in her head was saying, "Don't pick up things from the road." But Oburewa had learned a long time ago that her mother's voice was not a voice that loved her. So she reached down and she picked it up. It was warm, not from the ground, from something else, like something inside it had been keeping itself warm, waiting. She turned it over in her hands, studied the pattern, put it in her bag, and she walked home, not knowing, not even slightly, what she had just agreed to. That night, she sat alone in her room, the object on the floor before her. She did not know why she had kept it. She did not know what it was. She only knew that holding it felt different from everything else in her life. It felt like being seen, which was enough for a girl like Oburewa. It was more than enough. She spoke to it, the way lonely people speak to things that cannot answer.
I just want to be beautiful, not extraordinary, not stunning, just enough. Enough.
Enough that people do not look away. Enough that my mother does not move me to the back of the photographs. Enough that Adeshewa does not hate me just for existing. She then put the object on her bedside table. She laid down, she closed her eyes to sleep, but on the object's surface, words appeared, carved by nothing. They were carved by themselves. Wish granted. And beneath those words, a number counting down. She was already asleep. She did not see it. 7:20, 7:19, 7:18, 7:20 hours. 30 years had already been removed from whatever time she had left. She woke up the next morning and went into the bathroom. Out of habit, she avoided the mirror, brushed her teeth with her eyes down, the way she had done every morning for years. Then, her sister, Adeshewa, passed the bathroom door and stopped. Oburewa heard her stop. She heard her breathing. She heard the silence of someone processing something unexpected. Then, Adeshewa walked away without saying a word, which was the strangest thing because Adeshewa always had something to say. Always. Oburewa looked up at the mirror and for the first time in 10 years, She did not recognize the face looking back at her, not because it was extraordinary, because it was enough, exactly what she had wished for. A face that would not make people look away, a face that belonged. She stood at the mirror for 40 whole minutes, crying, not from sadness, from the overwhelming disorientation of finally seeing something in your reflection that you can live with. In the next room, on the object surface, the countdown continued. 695, 694, 693. She did not stop at beauty. Of course she didn't, because beauty opened doors she had never been allowed near. And behind those doors were rooms she had spent her whole life eavesdropping on. The first boy who noticed her made her feel something she had no reference point for. She wished for him to love her. And again, the words appear, carved by themselves. Wish granted. A mother who had spent 17 years being ashamed of her began to soften, to notice, to include. Oburewa wished for her mother's love. And again, the words appear, carved by themselves. Wish granted. She then wished for Adeshewa
Keep me
to
safe
never
from
be able to
Adesewa.
harm her
She will
again.
never be able to
And
harm
again,
me again.
wish granted. Each time the object warmed in her hands, each time the word appeared, each time the countdown reset lower, she noticed the word. After the third wish granted, she saw them clearly. She even smiled at them. She did not see the numbers. She was not looking at numbers. She was looking at wish granted, the most beautiful word she had ever read. The countdown was now at 412 hours. Not days anymore, hours. It was her fifth wish. She does not remember what it was. Something small, something that felt important at the moment. She held the object and spoke. And this time, when the words appeared, she looked more carefully. Wish granted, and beneath it, a number. She had seen numbers before on the object, but she had never watched them long enough to notice. They were moving, going down. She watched. 286, 285, 284. She did not understand immediately. The mind resists what it does not want to know. But Oburewa had spent 17 years learning to see things clearly, even when they were painful. So she sat with it and counted 286. From now, she did not know what happened at 0. She had made 5 wishes, each one taking 30 years. 150 years gone before she knew what she was spending. And now she had just 286 hours left on her current countdown before whatever came next. She tried to undo it. She wished to undo it. The object did not respond. No words, no want, just dark and still in her hands. She tried to destroy it, threw it against the wall. The wall cracked. The object did not. She then took it to the river, the same river where her sister had tried to drown her, and she threw it in. But the next morning, it was on her bedside table, exactly where it always sat, warm and waiting. She then went to an elder, the oldest person in the village, a woman so old nobody remembered when she had been young. The old woman looked at the object. She did not touch it. She did not even go near it. She just looked for a very long time. And then she said,
My child, where did you find this?
And Oburewa responded,
At the crossroad, Mama.
The old woman closed her eyes.
It had been at that crossroad longer than this village had existed, longer than any village in this region had existed. It was there before the first person decided to stay and call a place home.
And Oburewa responded,
Can I stop it, Mama?
No, child.
The old woman looked at her, the look of someone about to say something they wished they did not have to say. And she said, No.
You can only decide what to do with what is left.
She now has 94 hours left. When she made her final decision, not a wish, a choice, she thought about everything the object had given her. The beauty, the boy, her mother's love, safety from her sister, a life she had never been allowed to live. And then she thought about the next person, the one who would find it after her, the next desperate soul standing at the crossroad between pain and possibility. She picked up the object. She held it tightly, and this time she did not make a wish for herself. She pressed her hand against it and spoke.
Whoever finds you next, let them see the numbers first. Let them understand what they are about to spend. Let them choose with open eyes.
But the object did not respond. It never responded to anything that was not a wish. But for a moment, it felt warmer. She then walked to the crossroad, placed it at the center where two paths meet, and left it there, not as a trap, but as a warning for someone stronger than she had been. She then went home. She lay down, closed her eyes, and when the countdown reached 0, she did not fight it. She just accepted it. Her body became still, not slowly, but painfully, completely, the way the others had been. And that night, she did the same thing the ones before her had done. But before then, she was breathing. She was aware. She was gone, but her face was smiling, because for the first time in her life, she actually lived. And then the moment came. Like the others, she stood up suddenly, picked the knife, and she was gone. Her mother found her the next morning. She called her name. She shook her. She sat beside her bed. She took her hand. But it was too late. Too late. It was just too late. But at the crossroad, the object waited. And this time, when the next person found it, they saw the numbers first. 720, 719, 718. And they understood immediately. It was as if the past was shown to them. But they stood there, holding it. They know the cost. They know the ending. But they still said, I just want. They made a wish. And again, the words appeared. Wish granted. The countdown resets. Again, because that is the thing about human beings. We do not need to be tricked. We only need to want something desperately, and someone somewhere already does. Because that is one thing about humans. We always think we will be the exception, but we never are. The countdown is already running for someone right now. They just cannot see the numbers yet. Now to my wonderful viewers, if you could have everything you've ever wanted, but it would cost you your life, would you still say yes? Would you still make a deal? Let me know in the comment section. Did you enjoy this story? If you do, then please don't ignore. Drop your comment, like, and also subscribe on this channel. Thank you for watching.